The Human Founder Podcast by Gali Bloch-Liran.
Hi, I'm Gali Bloch-Liran and welcome to The Human Founder, the podcast where we speak about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Entrepreneurs often describe the emotional roller coaster that is embedded in being an entrepreneur investor, where you experience the lowest of lows when you're in China talking to your investors, updating them that within 2 months you're coming back to Israel and shut down the company. And the highest of highs when 2 weeks later you get a term sheet for investment from Alibaba. And it's from that place of uncertainty, the need to constantly self-manage ourselves, keep up our energy and be mentally resilient in order to deal with everything. Well, it's not easy. In each episode, I will be talking to entrepreneurs, investors, psychologists, being their sounding board with the goal of creating a space for this less spoken about layer, which is the mental aspect accompanying the entrepreneurial journey. I will also share tips and tricks to help boost your focus, clarity, and mental resilience. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nevo Alva. Hey, Nevo, it's really, really great to have you here with me.
Hi, Gali. Super excited.
Nevo, you are the co-founder and CEO of Acumen, together with Daniel and Itamar. You started your entrepreneurship journey at the age of 16, when you had a web design company. You then joined the Air Force and served as a helicopter pilot for almost 9 years, and we'll talk about it. You did your MBA in Tel Aviv University, joined a couple of startups, and then started Visualead, your first company, which eventually got acquired by Alibaba. Today you live in Tel Aviv, married to Yael, and you have 2 gorgeous kids. And in your free time, you take your son, Jonathan, it's a great name, by the way, to drive your bikes in the fields. So we're going to have a lot of to talk about. And we actually go way back together. You were my sister's commander in the Air Force 20 years ago. So hi, Mich, you have a dash from us. And nowadays, I have the pleasure of working closely and coaching Itamar and Daniel and yourself as a team. And it is indeed a real pleasure to be working with serial entrepreneurs like yourself and your guys. So
same here.
So, okay, so many things we can talk about and share from your journey. Let's go to the beginning. You're a young boy deciding that you want to open your first startup. Probably no one speaks those days about startups. Tell me how it all began.
Yeah, and actually I never decided that, you know.
It just happened?
No, actually it's like the cliche about having this teacher at high school that impacted your life. That's what happened.
The cliche.
The cliche.
Who was the teacher?
We had a physics teacher, and he also worked for Weizmann Institute. And someone there asked him if he knows someone that can build a website. Like they wanted to turn the paper-based departments into websites, and he just came and took me and 2 other kids and told us go to Weizmann Institute and see what they want.
So you went,
and we went. And they said we want this and that, and we said sure, we can do it. We had no idea what they wanted, and we went home and we read how to do it, and we told them we want. I remember it was like 3,000 shekels, which is like $800 for this job. We worked on it for 3 months.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, but we made it happen. And then another department there, and another department, and eventually we got like the whole institute. And then companies from around the area heard about those kids, and they also asked to have a website and to have to build their servers and networks in the offices, and it all to be a company.
So Weizmann Institute was your first B2B to C client. B2B.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. And what happened next? How did you roll down with this entrepreneurship path?
So actually, one very, very nice story from there is that after a few jobs, one of the jobs was like we sent invoice of 1,230 shekels. And someone there read this invoice with the 2 crosses on the side. So we got a check of 120,000 something shekels. And this was a very nice test for 16-year-old kids that gets, so much money and they need to give it back. Although it was signed and no one could have, noticed. Anyways,
it's almost like a term sheet that in the last moment is like
something like that.
So you also experienced the lowest side of the roller coaster back then.
Something like that, but it was not low. It was very nice. Then after 2 years of this experience, which taught me that I like to build stuff. Again, I didn't know what is a startup. I just knew that it's fun to create stuff, and I knew that someday I want to do that. But then, you have to go to the army, and I joined the Air Force.
It's a bit of an oxymoron that you say you have to go to the army, and I joined the Air Force, like the top unit. And it's something that, I see it a lot of times with you, that on the one hand you're here and very professional and super talented, but you're so humble in the way that you see things. There is this gap, which I think keeps you also in a good place.
I think it's once I'm in something, I cannot be less than the best I can, So same with the army. Once you have to go. Okay, so we go. Now what? Now let's be the best. I mean, at least that's how I see it.
It's a good sentence. Once I'm in something, I can't be less than the best. I'll quote you. So back to the Air Force.
Yeah. You join the Air Force at the age of 18. They tell you you want to be a pilot, no problem, but sign here that if you manage to, graduate the flight academy, then you sign for 8 years of service. And you say, sure, why not? And you sign, and that's it. From there, flight academy, 2 years, and then you join a squadron as a young pilot, and you do also some other jobs. So I was always into tech, and also there I was in charge of a new command and control system that we put inside the cockpit, which is basically take a helicopter from the 70s that was built for Vietnam War and put inside a PC with touchscreen and everything. Startup, yeah. So I was in charge of the whole evaluation of this, and I worked with companies like Elbit and Rafael. Looking backward, I did product work. Back then, I just, said what I want and what works and what doesn't work. And then...
How did you know back then you didn't yet have an academic degree, right? Or you did?
No.
So you didn't have an academic degree. You never studied computer science or product or whatever in the tech areas. From where did you have this knowledge and understanding and vision to what you should be doing and how you should navigate it?
Product is, I think it's the best profession in a company. That's okay, it's said. But I didn't know. I was just, they told me, this is the goal, this is the timeline, I now do whatever you need in order to make it happen, and that's it. And then you talk to people, and then you start working, and then you do a lot of mistakes. And again, in real time, it's not like I said, okay, now I have a product position, let's talk to product managers and learn the job. I didn't know. It was, this is your job, this is the goal, and find a way to do it. So,
and it's an amazing thing that happens both in the army and also in startups, that they throw you into the pool, and you don't necessarily know what you're going to do and how to address it, but it's all a matter of the mindset and your approach to things, and how much are you willing to learn and to ask others and to get some guidance, and even to know how to ask the right questions, and even if it's not the right questions, because there is no right and wrong, just to ask the questions. So this is, to my opinion, really a state of mind, and also what we would like to give to our children, as parents, as educators, also to give them this mindset that it doesn't matter what stands in front of you, just be curious about it, try to explore it, try to ask the right questions, and navigate on job training.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to the quote of if you are into something, be the best. I think. And I see it in entrepreneurship as well, of course. And I think it's one of the main tips I can give. If you go into a new subject matter, like you don't know, like I had an adventure in the field of IVF, in vitro fertilization, and I had no idea about this field. But one thing I knew is that if I want to innovate in this field, I have to become an expert in a way. So you have to, like, at the first steps, you have to be humble, you have to learn, you have to read, you have to talk to people, but you have to have a goal that within a few months you become an authority in the field. So even if I don't know about something, I have to find a way to become an authority, and I have to find a way in my to my example of IVF, I have to find a way to sit in front of a professor with 40 years of experience and talk to him or her, and they should look at me and think, where did this guy learn medicine, right? So, yeah.
And maybe to add to it, so when you're studying something like medicine or physics, PhD in physics, or even law or other professions, so you have a path that you go through and you learn it. But once you're an entrepreneur in a field that you choose to address, whether it is if you have some business experience or professional experience in it, you didn't necessarily learn it in the same way as when you go to be a doctor, you learn it. So the time frame is much shorter, and it is much more intensive in order to bridge that gap of knowledge and experience in order to really be perceived as an expert in that field.
Yeah, and it's psychology, eventually. I'm no doctor. My wife is a doctor, and she's much, smarter than I am. Or she has deep knowledge about all kind of medicine and disease and everything. But And that's one thing I think about almost any subject out there, even the most complicated one. If I can talk to these people, understand their pains, understand the interactions, understand the challenges, understand the market, and let's go back to the IVF example, understand what patient thinks, what embryologists in the lab think, what doctors think, what different countries, how does it look like in different countries, what big clinic chains, what are their interests and stuff. Once I know all this and I know the process, then again it's on an upper level, but I have a very good understanding of the field, and I can innovate in the field.
And you said it's all psychology.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you. And that's why, we can close this podcast recording now. We can finish because, this is the bottom line. It's all about the way we perceive things and our mental ability to deal with things and our psychological way of thinking. And we just spoke about it before we begin this recording about Yael, your wife. We can talk about it, that you said she's so talented. And go ahead. Go ahead. You tell the story. Because again, it's psychological things. It's the way we behave with the reality.
Yeah.
Share with us what happened.
What happened?
the story that you spoke about, that you told about Yael, that from...
No, not sure. Sorry. Remind me. I have many stories.
So many stories. Hi, Yael. So many stories. That you said she's a doctor and she's getting so many invitations to speak in conferences.
Right.
You can take it from here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gani, for reminding me.
She manages a clinic in northern Tel Aviv. She's really good. She's like a top 5%. She got the how do you say, like among the top 10 doctors in all of the center area. In
which field?
In family medicine.
Okay.
She's working for one of the big chains, and she's been chased by all kind of conferences and stuff to speak at,
and pharmaceutical companies to come and
and essentially she's super good. I mean, I'm not saying it because she's my wife. I'm saying it because I see the emails she gets, and I see the WhatsApp messages, and she is good, and I know she's good, but it's very stressful for her, and in a way we are very similar. I mean, it's stressful because when she's into something, when she's into the conference, she cannot be less than the best. She cannot bear being not the center of the event. So it's a conflict, On one hand, she is very stressful about it, and on the other hand, she just very good at it. And it's a question if it's a good thing to do or not.
I don't think it's a question of good or bad, because this is something that as we grow up, we understand that it's not a question of good or bad in life. It's just it's a complex situation, and it holds also more productive parts and some parts that also stops us from going forward. And the question is if it really stops us, or it just, a little bit more challenging for us. If it's just challenging but it doesn't stop us, then it's okay. If it stops us from doing things, then there is an issue there, but I wouldn't say it's right or wrong. Generally, talking about things in life, of course, if it's not a felony or something, is right or wrong. But you spoke about Yael, so let's dive deeper a little bit about it, can we?
Okay.
So you have a wife which is a doctor, and you are a serial entrepreneur, and you'll share in a few minutes about your journey, and you have 2 children. And how do you manage it all together? Also, after having the exit already and living abroad for several years, and we'll get back there, and going and doing it again when you know all the prices and the trade-offs and how it works and how complicated and difficult it is, and you're doing it again. And how do you manage this whole, thing of having a healthy, normal family life?
You say.
Or not normal. I don't know. You'll share. How do you hold it all together?
So first of all, it's not rational. I mean, being entrepreneur in general is not rational, I think. Not in terms of compensation, not in terms of anything. If you look at it in a rational way, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. So that's one thing. Second, I think, is there a word in English to firgun?
Firgun?
Firgun.
There isn't a word.
Okay.
Affirmations or something, but firgun. Firgun is firgun.
I think firgun is the key.
Izzy and Inbal are talking about it. Izzy Vidra and Hi Inbal really.
So eventually, it's about the relationship and what you have at home, and I think firgun is a key word here. I think both of us as a couple, we have it by nature, and we understand each other. So in a way, the fact that we both have a very intensive careers helps us to understand each other, understand the pressure, understand when to let go, understand when to take, ownership and responsibility about something, and leave the other side to to manage.
To survive.
Yeah, and it's not about, talking too much or solving problems together. It's there, sure. It's about giving the feeling that it's okay. I'm here to cover you. In a way, it's similar to partners in startups, co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Yael is the perfect co-founder. So I'm lucky. Really, I had...
To the first startup, to the family.
Yeah. I had previous relationships in which no chance I could have been an entrepreneur. Because it was not the same relationship. It was not the same firgun.
But it's not always easy. And sometimes, you're describing, it's complex, as we said, but what happens, when it's at the edge of things, when the two of you are very, very busy, you have some product launch and she's now has to go to a conference, or she has a very serious clinical situation that she's in. So how do you manage it in the extreme situations?
It's exactly that. If I see she's in an extreme situation, then I need to take over and I need to clean the way for her. Okay, I encourage her, of course, but again, it's important. But the main thing is to understand what she feels and to understand that I should clear the way for her. I should take off some of her worries, some of her duties even, and I think that's the thing. Of course it's hard. You ask how we deal with it, not how we get depressed. Also to feel down a little bit from time to time. It's also part of the process. Yeah. We're not always high. I really like the way you described it, to clear the way for each other and the ownership. And it goes exactly the same with co-founders in startups, that sometimes one division or the technology part is really, really overwhelmed with things. Or sometimes when the CEO is going to fundraising and he's so overwhelmed with all the investors meetings and the pipeline and all the things that he needs to be prepared for. Or when someone is selling a company, so he's very, very into it. And the thing is really to feel each other. Also, when you get closer, also from just looking to each other and understanding, really have this deep layer of understanding each other and see that now I'm swamped and I need you to take over some things, and to really feel this accountability and ownership of things, that I'm not alone and you are here to carry this heavy duty with me. Yeah, it's also on the emotional side, by the way, because if I see the other side depressed, for example, and I don't understand why is it happening, or I cannot identify with the same feeling, so I start thinking, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? She wants me, she doesn't want me. What's going on? And but if you know it, if you both in it, and like you say, you can identify exactly when it happens, then not only you are not get affected by it yourself, you can also help.
So on that thing, I'll add that going back to co-founders relationship, which is very similar in that matter, is understanding that it's not personal. And if someone is behaving in a specific way because he's struggling with things at home or with things in his department, or the version now is not good enough or not in the right pace, etc. So, and he feels depressed about it, and it's okay. Sometimes we feel depressed. The other one shouldn't take it as it's personal and it's towards him. It's just something that the other one feels, and it's okay to feel those things. And it's for us as the co-founders, as the partners in this situation, to allow him to feel that way a little bit, and then to bounce back and to move on. And in the same time, to let him or her feel that we're there for them. But sometimes we skip and we take it like it's personal, like someone is doing something to us, and it's not true. They are experiencing what they're experiencing. It's not done towards us, and understanding it's very, very important in the way that we're dealing the relationships between the co-founders. because we cannot always know what happens at home to one of the founders, and we cannot always know what is his or her struggling with, and knowing to isolate it from the relationship and just understand that they need us in this certain point really can help them to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the most important jobs of co-founders, and that's, I think, the main reason to take a co-founder, otherwise I can do it alone, is to lift each other. And it shouldn't be someone that lifts the other side and that's it. I mean, every single person has his or her downs and ups, right? So lifting each other is the most important thing in co-founder.
We're here to lift. You have many good quotes. So we spoke about Yael and the army. Mention a few things, the main things that you took from your 9 years of being a helicopter pilot to your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, so after this so-called product job, I was an instructor in the flight academy. 1 year as in the officer course, like it's not flight teaching, and then 1 year of flight instructor. And then I was the deputy of the squadron commander. I was in charge of all the operational side of the squadron. And I think, I was lucky to see all kind of management roles, and both young motivated kids that want to become pilot, and you have to put them in very stressful situations, both in flight but not only. So having this kind of variety really helped me to see the whole picture. And then, my last job, it was super stressful. And I had many people around me and under my command. And it taught me to, again, without choice, it taught me to deal with very stressful situations, but still, perform in the highest way. And I think when you leave the Air Force, you have very good soft skills. I know how to manage people. I know how to look in a way, how to feel people, like to look from the other person's eyes and understand what he or she feels.
I remember that you mentioned in one of our conversations that this is one of your biggest strengths.
Yeah. And so that's the soft skills is the main thing I think I took for my service. And then the other one, like understanding how a company works, what is product and sales and marketing, I had no idea. I had to learn it.
Okay, you cannot get everything from the Air Force, right? Going forward, and you're starting Visualead, and tell us a little bit about the journey there and the move to China and what happens. Right, so I can talk about it for hours, so I'll try to be brief. The highlights.
Yeah, so I had two choices: either to join a company and learn from the inside how a startup works. I tried to do it for a couple of years, and I kind of lost my patience. And I said, okay, let's jump into the pool, like you said. Only it was not a pool; it was a sea, very salty.
Ocean.
It was an ocean. Yeah.
Very deep and salty.
Yeah. So we started. We had no idea what we were doing. We did any possible mistake. We had a belief that it was 2011 and mobile was on the rise. and we wanted to connect offline and online in a more engaging and effective way. So we started to build all kind of technologies, which is one of our mistakes, around connecting online and offline through scanning of images, QR codes, and everything in between. The first thing we built was a SaaS product for small businesses. It was a very good experience, and very quickly we got to like $500,000 ARR in like 3 months from launch. Back then, I didn't know that it's a good thing. I looked at it and I said, okay, it's nice, but you know what's next?
It's still good.
Even
nowadays.
Even today, it's good.
This is a good
even
indicator.
Today, 3 months from launch to get to $500,000 ARR, it's great.
Yeah.
But then again, you don't know it. No one tells you it's how good or not good it is. And
this is one of the things in entrepreneurship that no one gives you grades along the way. You don't always know unless you're going to investors asking for money, then you get it in the face. But during this path, you don't know. There isn't anyone sits on your shoulder. Great, Nevo, not good. Go ahead, continue this way or change it. Yeah.
And you can very easily get impacted by feedback of investors, which is another thing I didn't know back then. So I remember I had a meeting with one of the leading VCs in Israel, and they told me $500,000 ARR. Are you Wix? I mean, look at Wix. They are doing it right. You worth nothing. It's like nothing, and they really sent us down in a way.
So you needed your co-founders to lift you up.
We needed, but they were also inexperienced. And when you go out of such meeting, if it's like 1 or 2 meetings, you can easily take it too serious, and it can be very impactful.
And it's important to mention it that as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you'll get many feedbacks,
right? And
we also need to learn how to listen to them,
right? Because
it can be also 50 VCs that will tell you it sucks. And maybe they're right. Maybe.
Yeah, if it's 50 VCs, you probably suck.
But especially in the beginning, if you get a very difficult and harsh feedback.
It goes both ways. And I tell it also to many entrepreneurs. When you get feedback from investors, don't get low, but also don't get high. Like the fact that one investor love it doesn't mean you are onto something. Anyway, it was very hard to maintain the same growth, and we started to look for other geographies where people can understand this kind of offline to online interactions better, and we decided to look at the East. Because over there, if you take China, for example, most people met the internet for the first time on their mobile phone.
It's a very big decision, especially back then. It was 2012 or?
It was 2012, 13, and it was not a decision. It was exploration. And the way we did it is I looked for...
it's a nice way to put it. Exploration is a kind of decision which you just decide not to decide now, but to explore.
Yeah. It's before the decision. Anyway, I'll try to be short. So I was looking for a conference in China or in Japan, and I found a conference called GMIC, Global Mobile Internet Conference, and they had a startup competition, and the deadline was like a week earlier, but I wrote to them and I told them, listen, we're from Israel and we just found you and we want to join the competition. Why, by the way? Because if you get accepted to the competition, you get a free booth. And as a good Israeli, if you get a free booth, you have to go there, right?
Yeah.
So after 5 minutes, they answered. They said, sure, come. And we bought a ticket to China. And May 2013 was my first visit to China. I got there. It was kind of foggy with some
Beijing,
cells,
Shanghai,
Beijing, with some party cells in the air going down like snow. And I said, wow, it's unique.
It took a while.
A few months or weeks later, someone told me, dude, this is pollution, right? And,
That's how it looks like.
The snow you see is like,
a black snow.
leftover. Yeah, crazy. Anyway, we got to the competition. We won the competition. It was an amazing experience. Speaking about highs, it was also very easy to get noticed because I was the only Western guy on stage. And suddenly we got so much attention, and we said, okay, something here is different.
Mm-hmm.
We are not getting lost in a sea of startups and new technologies, and we don't need to explain ourselves to anyone because people understand us quickly here.
There is an opportunity.
Yeah, there's a big opportunity. But I didn't know China, and we tried to. We also got. We started getting requests from the Facebook of China.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was Renren, and it was crazy. And we tried for 6 months to do business in China by going there every month, and every time we were there, it was like, wow, it's like super exciting. We nailed it, and we're going to be huge here. And then we went back to Israel, and everything got stuck. And I went to my board and I told them, if we want to be in China, either we go all in or we drop this market because it will not work this way. And then they told me, okay, so when are you moving?
When are you moving?
Yeah.
Then you go back home to Yael, and Yael, let's pack, we're moving to China.
Yeah, and she's in the middle of a practice, medicine, and she had to stop everything for at least 1 year. And we had Jonathan, he was like less than a year old. So it was a very, one of the common mistakes of relocation is not taking the family to the destination before they actually saw it and you got a confirmation. So the first time for Yael in China, she had to stay there for 1 year. So it was very, very, very challenging. I have many stories, but essentially we made it a fun experience. And
it's important to mention here, if we spoke earlier about the spouse and the relationships at home. So yeah, there is also a lot of sacrifice that needs to be done in different stages of this journey. And for example, leaving your practice, you're now a medicine student and you need to leave now the practice, you're almost a doctor because you want to allow your spouse that you love and you believe in him to go after his dreams and to move to China in the middle of the life, and there's a child 1 year old, and like everything changes. So on the one hand, it's very exciting and it can be fun, and I'm also saying it's an experience, and all we want to do, at least to my opinion, in life is to have as many experiences as we can, okay? But experience does not necessarily mean something which is easy. It's complex. And the spouses, doesn't matter if it's the woman or the man, there are many trade-offs, and they need to make a sacrifice, which is very important to recognize and to understand that the entrepreneurial journey is not just the founders itself. The family has a big part of it, and there is a way to do it better, and there is a way, and it will still be very, very complicated and complex, and there is a way to do it less good. And it's up to us as founders to pay attention to it and to see how we are managing also this layer of our life, this axis in our life, to make sure that it's not hurt, that it's getting the right attention, and that we're taking into consideration also what happens at home. Otherwise, it won't work.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yep.
And we want to succeed in both axes, also in the entrepreneurship and also in our marriage, partnerships, whatever.
Yeah, I had a friend that did an exit of $500 million.
Only.
Yeah. And he told me the story over a beer. And eventually he told me, I had 2 goals in life. One is to take this company to hundreds of millions. And second is to have a healthy, family. And I failed on the family side. We got divorced and everything. So it got me in okay, he's right. You have to look at it and find the balance. Because if you lose your family, then why? You lose the why. Anyway.
It's another good quote, Nevo. You have so many good quotes today.
Yay,
wow.
Yay.
If you lose your family, you lose the why. Okay, so you're moving to China. And
we're moving to China. It was like starting a new startup in China. Only now you don't know the language. You have no connections, no network. You don't know the culture, which is even more important than the language. But you have to learn, like we said before, right? You have to constantly and continuously learn. And that's what I did. Like the first thing I did was to take a student, a Chinese student that she knew English and kind of English, and she helped me find apartment, find office, open bank account, find the first employee. It was funny. I took a student with zero experience, and she was with me interviewing because she could read those people much better than I could.
And it's another beautiful example that we don't always have to be guided by titles. It's all a matter of what's inside and how much growth mindset those people have, and how resourceful they are, and how much people in various kind of positions are willing to commit and to really open, bring themselves as much as they can. Yeah. And it can also be a student. Yep. It doesn't matter, as long as you feel that they're really, their heart and mind and soul are really with you.
Definitely. And there was no book and no one that actually did the exact thing before. So it was pure learning. And many ups and downs, mainly downs. I learned it the hard way. And eventually,
the co-founders stayed in Israel, and only you moved.
One of them moved with me.
Okay. Also with a family?
He had no kids, but he moved with his spouse. It made things easier for sure, but yeah, it was super challenging, and China is hard. Okay, we don't. It's a different podcast, but China is hard. Objectively hard, like, Google and Uber and most companies that tried China, they failed. So it was very hard for us to win in China. Eventually, we managed, and again, so many stories, but eventually we managed to get Alibaba as a strategic partner. And as you started with, it was right after the lowest low. Where we, ran out of money, and even money we could have got was Chinese money, which we cannot do. We cannot take out of China, and it was like really low. Then we got Alibaba as strategic investor. Fast forward, they acquired the company. Not that things got easier after they invested in the company. Also there we made tons of mistakes. But eventually we managed to get to a nice deal with them, and then they opened the research development center here in Israel, based on Visualead. I think the results are quite good because it grew like 10 times, and they worked on very exciting products like our team from Visualead. And that's it. That's
you led activity in here?
It's another story. I came with a plan of what we are going to do in Israel. By the way, the China business, they didn't care about the business in China. They mainly wanted to get some of Israel. So I had to sell the Chinese business to another company. So I came with a plan to Alibaba of what are we going to do in Israel in the coming 4 years. That's the time I should have stayed there. And they told me, but wait, we don't have the guy you should present to, because the guy who's in charge of Israel is still not appointed. So I said, okay, so I'm going to do what? I mean, I'm going to wait for this guy to get here. I don't want. It's gonna take time. I worked with you for 3 years. I know how things work here. And they told me, so what do you want to do? I told them, let me help you for a few months to get settled, and then send me away. I want to start my next company. And we changed the contract on the last minute, and that's the way it happened. So my previous co-founder stayed there for 4 years.
Additional 4 years.
Yeah.
You're a pilot. You're a helicopter pilot. So it will take you up to 30,000 feet. How much?
Oh, no.
How many?
No, helicopter can't get there.
So how
Not the
many?
Israeli one.
Okay. So how many? Like 20?
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
So if we look at this journey that you just described, I think there's a lot to learn from it, because now you tell it as a story. It has a beginning, in the middle, and then the end, right? And the end, it was actually a good end. And it all began in this, decision of applying to a competition that you saw 1 week ahead. And you had to be assertive and tell them, I'm an Israeli, let's bring the startup, yada, yada. You had no idea where it will lead you. And I think this is one of the things that you have no idea which one of the various efforts that you'll invest in various aspects of the startup will be the winner one. And you don't know necessarily. It's not that you don't know necessarily. You don't know all the sequences and the waves that later on one thing will lead to another. And this competition led to winning it, and that led to starting to do business together, and that led to moving to China, and at the end also to be acquired by them. And I think that keeping this open mind and seeing everything as opportunities, it's not easy task, but the ability to see everything as an opportunity. It's like I'm looking at you and you see it, let's say it in the picture. You have many holes behind you, okay, to hang things on it. You can have a look. So it's like each one of these holes is an opportunity. It's a tunnel that you don't know where it's going to take you out, and how the things will be connected at the end. And part of being a founder and being an entrepreneur is have this, this vision and ability to see things that are not yet discovered, and to really believe in them, and to have this very inner strong belief that things will be okay. They're not necessarily are. There are usually many, many struggles during the way, but it will lead to somewhere. And then at the end, you have a story of an exit, and it's really, really nice, but you didn't know it back then that it will lead that way.
Yeah. Actually, I think that people talk about luck. So I agree. There's a lot of luck in what's going on. I can say that most of the opportunities came from opening doors, and not necessarily from meetings or things you thought are going to lead you to your goal. I tried to meet Alibaba for 5 or 6 times. I actually met many departments there, and all those meetings failed. And then an accidental meeting with someone from Alimama, which is a subsidiary of Alibaba. They are in charge of all the ad network. I met the guy just because I was in Shanghai at the same time. And he told me, listen, what you do is not relevant for me, but I have a friend inside Alibaba. I know he's working on something similar. Talk to him. And then I talked to this guy, and one thing led to another, and this was my door in.
And exactly, to continue from what you're saying, so one thing is luck, the other thing is seeing opportunities, but I think at the base, at the bottom of it, at the base of it is it's the need to nurture relationships, because you never know where it will come from. And nurture relationships not because I want something, because you're truly interested in people, in what they do, in the impact that they bring to the world, in like being very, very curious person, and you never know where the right opportunity will come from. And this is part of this mindset and this growth mindset, and being open to life, as I find really, really crucial as part of the traits that a founder should have. So you're making the deal with Alibaba. You're making nice money. You're coming back to Israel. And how do you find the strength, the power, the will to do it all over again?
First of all, the first thing I did was to fly to Costa Rica with my son. So that's the 3 weeks there, and that's the first thing. And then I said, okay, where's my passion? What I want to do. When you are in this journey, you learn so many things that you say, okay, I have to use those things that I learned somewhere later. And yeah,
let's do it again.
You take another irrational decision and you jump in again.
Another irrational, but with some rational in it, because it's fine-tuned to who you are. You understand that you cannot be anyone else. So it will be irrational to try to do something which is not correlated with who you are, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty rational within this irrational.
Yeah. Whatever makes you feel right.
So how much time after leaving Visualead and Alibaba you actually began with the Acumen?
So I did a year, more than a year of exploration of new fields and new ideas. It's a very challenging experience as well. Like being in between, you want to start something, but you have experience, so it's very easy to say why things will not work. And I checked several industries. I checked where do I see pains, what makes me feel, passionate, where is my interest, and also a lot of dating with founders, a lot of dating. It's like dating. It's like dating. So only you have a goal and you have like 1 year to find someone to get married with, right? So that's what I did for a year, even more than a year.
And just to add something, I hear it from many serial entrepreneurs that are going to do it in the second time, and they take this half a year or year and a half in between until the next time. And it's true that being a founder, you always deal with uncertainty, because this is the playground. Nothing is certain. You don't know what will happen. It's all a VUCA world. It's all volatile and uncertain and ambiguous, and still being in this. It's not without the title, but undefinition of what is the next thing is something which is not easy to hold, because you used to be the CEO and the co-founder of company A, and it succeeded or it didn't succeed. It depends. And even if it succeeded in your case, then still all of a sudden I'm with nothing. I mean, okay, I did it. Nice. Money is in the bank. I have the recognition, that's nice, but it ended. So now I feel some kind of emptiness again, and I need to feel this emptiness. And it's like you can say it's, I'm not sure what is the right phrase in English. It's a shel hashirim, like it's easier for those who, it's easier for them, but still it's not easy. Because as a founder, you have this strong passion to do things, to create an impact, and all of a sudden you're not sure what is the thing going to be.
Yeah, I mean, this emptiness is something that you want to feel. By the way, it's also a risk, because some people get to a point, they said, okay, I'm going after this idea because I'm tired of the emptiness, and not because it's a good idea.
And it's not the right motivation to do things.
Yeah. So it's also a risk.
You just need to have this deep conversation with yourself and understand, well, what are the motivations? Is it an external one that I need a title, I need to be doing something?
Which is not easy.
It's not easy, right.
There's also a risk to the other side, to check too much. Because again, give me any idea you want, I will find ways why it wouldn't work.
So I just want to say that even if you already done it as a founder, it doesn't mean that the second time is easier. It has different struggles, different things that you have to deal with that in the first time you weren't aware of. You didn't know what you didn't know. But now you know that there are many other things that you don't know and you need to deal with.
And also the expectations of your environment are higher. And that's another challenge. Because eventually everything is relative, right? So when the expectations around you are higher, it means more pressure on you. Because it's like you do it for the second time. You're not allowed, quote, to fail, and it adds pressure. Definitely.
Did you feel this pressure?
Woo. Definitely.
From whom? Mainly?
It's not rational, and it's not something that I can actually say. This person thinks this way. It's something you feel, and it's a reflection you feel on yourself. I think it starts from expectations from yourself, and then you reflect to your environment, and you imagine that everybody thinks so.
And first of all, thank you for sharing it. I know, first of all, it's not easy to share, and second, it's so true. And I think that recognizing it and understanding also that you're not the only one who's dealing with it. And this is a voice that we have that many of us struggle because we succeeded once. It's how do we know that we will do it again? And the environment and the surrounding, they already position us in a specific space that we're able to do it one more time. And maybe we don't have the energy, maybe we don't want, maybe we don't believe in ourselves that it can be duplicated again. And I want to emphasize that also the founders that did it, that had exits, that their company was bought and really nailed it and had success, it doesn't mean that later on they don't feel this down, this emptiness, this struggle, this felt of self-efficacy and the way that they recognize themselves. And it's really important to acknowledge it and to talk about it. So thank you for sharing it. So you do it again and you decide to go ahead with Itamar and Daniel, that you know Itamar from the MBA.
Right.
Who worked with Daniel.
Right.
And you start to build Acumen.
Yeah. So we first of all, it was the dating period, and I knew Itamar for like a decade before. We became good friends from the MBA. So there are, you get some things from an MBA, and meeting good people is definitely one of them. And we both had startups. Also, Daniel and Itamar had a startup, Nextpeer. They also sold it to Rakuten, and they worked there for 3.5 years. And we kind of did some dating around finding our new idea. And we saw that there's a good chemistry. When we decided to go after Acumen, which essentially we help engineering teams to deliver on time and become more productive. So we had to do some market research, and we had to talk to many engineering leaders. And I took this opportunity to test our relationship as well. So it was right before COVID started, and we went to the US, and intentionally we took Airbnb, small apartment in the Valley, and we did 3 weeks, Los Angeles, in the Valley and in New York, and we had to be with each other for 3 weeks in the same apartment.
Gibush.
It was a gibush. And I think it was a great test. I warmly recommend it as a...
You took the dating part into a new phase.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
3 weeks with each other in the same tent, together, just in Airbnb in Silicon Valley, New York. It's more sexy than just in the desert or something. But,
sleeping, eating, hearing each other, you get to know someone when you have this opportunity.
Snoring, everything.
Yeah, everything.
So less things will later on, be in a surprise you.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's a good tip.
We did these 3 weeks, and we decided to go with Acumen. How much time do we have? We have time to tell the...
Yeah, shortly. Yeah, in short.
Okay. So we started Acumen out of our own personal experience, mainly Itamar and Daniel as engineering leaders who faced the challenge of scaling engineering team from 10 people, everybody are happy in the office, up to 100 developers, no one knows what's going on in a corporate. And we saw that, we heard that this challenge is coming from many engineering leaders. We also saw that they take decision out of gut feel and their personal experience, and not from looking at their data and taking smarter decisions. And that's the challenge we decided to solve. What we do today is we're building the agile operation system for development teams. We take the data out of the existing systems of the dev team, like Jira, GitHub, Slack, all kind of systems. We digest it, we analyze it, and then we use it to help those development teams make better decisions, continuously improve, and also facilitate the Scrum process eventually.
It's like an external brain
Something
for the
like that.
developers,
Something like that.
for the engineers,
Yeah.
to help them process in a better, faster, smarter way.
Yeah, and also here, we started from one angle of working with VPs and directors of engineering, and like
all
every,
startups.
every good startup, we understood that if we really want to be a big company and make a real impact in this industry, we have to go bottom up. So we changed our go-to-market strategy to become a bottom-up, fully PLG company. And today we work with thousands of organizations. All of them found us bottom up. The first user is the team leader or developer that finds us, which is amazing. As I think it's another decision that you take, and you don't know if it's going to kill you or if it's going to be the best decision you took.
And you never know about
By the way, I still don't know. I can only know what's going on now.
And I think this is also something important for founders to understand, this humbleness that we spoke about in the beginning, that you usually don't know if it will be a good decision, but you have to explore it, and you have to try it, and you have to test it, and based on data later on to check it. And another thing is from looking at your journey and also Daniel's and Itamar's. So the fact that you began this startup from a pain that you felt yourself as founders, they are more because they were the CTOs, etc., and the technological aspects, but you also as a CEO, you really felt it in your hands, on yourself as founders. And together with this, being serial entrepreneurs, that it's not the first time, and you know each other for some time. It's not just someone that you met like a few months ago. As we spoke earlier, it still doesn't make it easy. It's maybe a bit easier than it was in the first time because it was completely new. But then in the second times you address other challenges, new challenges. And I think that founders that don't embrace this understanding that this is part of the process, these are the rules of the game, the uncertainty, the not knowing, and to be okay with it, not okay as like we don't care about it, we just learn how to live with it. It will be very difficult for them to succeed in this.
Eventually, I agree. I mean, it's most of the challenges I'm focused at, I didn't experience them before. So
maybe one more word, because it's important for me and for you as well, that within all this stress and you're a very, very busy guy with the kids and Yael and Acumen and the company that you're building, etc., etc. One of the most beautiful things that I see, mainly not just, but in Israeli founders, is the need to give back. And I remember we spoke about it, that every morning when you go to work,
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about Restart.
Yeah, the two of them. It's Restart and the office hours. So you can go ahead, take the lead on those two things.
I noticed that people want to talk, and I remember myself, and I know how important it is for people to consult and hear from others. So I had to find a creative solution to like for this one. So I open the Calendly window every morning when I'm driving to work, my commute time, and people can just use the link and set 30 minutes talk with me, and I find it very efficient, and it's also fun. So that's one thing.
And it keeps you young, it keeps you agile, it keeps you, to know what's happening in the market from a different angle. And it's also a feeling of impact, and it really nurtures you as well. Because giving others is also giving to ourselves.
And also just to help. So as simple as it is. And the other thing is Restart. We kind of met there, right?
Yeah, in the second round, yeah.
Yeah. So Restart is another startup. It's a non-profit. I'm part of the board there, fully volunteering, of course. And what we do there, we help wounded soldiers that went through a long rehabilitation process and opened a gap from in life. So we help them go back to society, and it's like super exciting. It's one of the best startups I was part of.
I can definitely relay and agree, and I think that part of doing what we're doing today as founders, as independents, as coaches, whatever, all those free professions, is the ability to use our time also to do things that we feel that there is a lot of impact there, and we can really help other people in places that they need someone else to approach them and lift them, and it's really amazing. If someone wants to volunteer, you can reach Restart and Yosef and Niv, and that's amazing. Nevo, we have so many other things we can talk about. We like to talk. You see, it wasn't that bad, right? I think you even enjoyed it. I know your smile. And it was really, really great. So many insights that you brought into the conversations. Where can people find you if they want to work for Acumen, or if they want to use the product to their startups and you should do it, or if they want to invest, or if they want to consult with you? What is the best way?
So the fastest way is probably LinkedIn. There's a very easy way to connect with me over there. Also, they can go to our website, acumen.io, and take a look there. We're happy to work with Israeli companies, of course.
And not just.
And what else? Yeah, I think that's it. It was fun, definitely fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting.
Thank you for coming. To our lovely listeners, we're going to hit pause till the next episode. That's also something I say to the entrepreneurs in my clinic in between sessions, right?
Yep.
If you enjoyed listening, I would really appreciate it if you share the podcast with people who you think would derive value from it. Thanks to the amazing studios at Google Campus, you allow me to record all this wonderful content in here. Feel free to visit my website at galiblochliran.com and leave your details there if you wish to be updated and learn more about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Also, be sure to follow my podcast, The Human Founder, in any of your podcast apps. Let's hit pause. Till next time. Thanks, Nevo.
Thank you, Gali.